Hey, welcome back to Morning Manna. Last week, we talked about how generosity is rooted in God. This week, we'll talk about generosity as a lifestyle. The Bible tells us that each one must give as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. We read that in 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7. The Bible calls us to be cheerful givers. How often do we find ourselves hesitating to give? You know, when I was a kid, my grandparents had a farm, and every year they would take the crops and put them in baskets, bushel baskets, and they would sit them at the edge of the driveway. And when somebody else would come and grab one of those, they would leave one. It was a way of sharing. But there was a time when somebody would just come and take. And I would be so upset, and I would be so fearful that they were taking things without going through. It wasn't fair. It wasn't right. My grandfather told me, hey, son, we have, so we have to give. And sure enough, the blessings would come back a week later when not only they would bring us some of their crops from their fields and the sharing of a bushel, but they would also bring us pies for being so generous. And those pies were so good. You know, perhaps this fear of not having enough, or the belief that our contributions won't make a difference, or desire to be treated fairly or equitably. When we embrace generosity as a lifestyle, though, we break free from these fears and align ourselves with God's heart. God invites us into the joy of giving, not out of obligation, but as a response to his love. The cheerful giver trusts that God is faithful and will supply every need. Have you ever experienced joy in giving? Think about a time when you gave freely, perhaps a gift, your time, or a kind word, and saw the impact it had on someone else. That joy is what God desires for you. It's not about the size of your gift, it's about the heart behind it. God's promise is clear. He loves a cheerful giver. When we give with open hearts, we reflect our trust in him as our provider. This trust allows us to let go of fear and live in the abundance of his provision. The world often operates from a mindset of scarcity, but God calls his people to live differently, rooted in faith and abundance. Pray for a generous and joyful spirit. Ask God to reveal areas where you might be holding back and to help you trust him fully with your resources, your time, and your talents. Identify one specific area in your life, whether financial, relational, or again with time, where you can practice generosity today. Let this act be a joyful expression of faith. God bless you guys, and we'll see you next week.